This shouldn't take us too long, and if we have a chance, there's an activity here. I'll break you up and let you work on the activity, just for a change of pace. Right, so this is Unit 4, Lines and Symbols. Want to identify the common types of lines used on prints, identify the features from different lines, and match drawing symbols with their meanings. So that's what we're going to try to do here. We have lines of various styles and weights on our drawing, right? Everything is in plan. Everything is almost always going to be in black, so we're not using color to distinguish different types of lines. We're using width and characteristics of the line. Right, so that border line, I'm on page 59 of the book, right? Extra heavy lines denoting some division between pieces of the drawing or the edge of a drawing. Property line, right? That's pretty clear what it is, the extent of the property in question. Right, you see it's property line, long, short, short, long. Object line, that's going to be the main features of the building or the object in question. This dashed hidden line means that we're looking at something below the surface, and we'll see what this means in a minute. And this long, short is a center line, right? I think one of you asked a couple weeks ago, are we always dimensioning to the center of a door or window? And I think I answered yes, but I should have looked at the style of line to make sure that that line had the characteristic of an extension, of a center line. Right, lots of different ways that dimensions can be shown. This is going to be, style of the architect or the, standard practice in the architect's firm. But you see both a dimension line, a dimension. Let me turn the pointer on here again. Come back here. This dimension line and the extension line. Right, the extension line shows which features between which the dimension applies, and the dimension line is drawn between those two extension lines and shows what the actual dimension is. And again, you see there's lots of different ways that, styles of arrows and crosses or tick marks. There's not one right way to do that. It's just going to depend on the particular style of the architect or the office. Right, a long break line, in this case, indicates that we're not showing the full length of that object, right? We're showing part of the object, but there's more of the object up here that's not shown. This short break line means that we're looking at some detail of that object below the rest of the drawing proper. Right, again, we have to do things like this because we're generally dealing in 2 dimensions, right? We have a 2-dimensional drawing, but we might want to show some features that are above or below the plane of the drawing. So that's what we do with this short break line, and that's what we'll see in a minute with the hidden line. Again, when we were looking at drawings, we saw lines indicating a building section. So again, it can be done in a couple different ways, right? You might have this section identification and the drawing where the section is indicated, and the arrow shows which way you're facing. Can be done this way, can be done with these two B's there. So in this case, I would go to drawing A5 and I should see section F. In this case, it's not going to be exactly clear where section BB is, but on some of the drawing, I should see a section drawn, and at the bottom, the title should say section BB. Right, this one, again, if I go to sheet S12, I should see section G shown someplace on that sheet S12. Again, this is probably easier for you to see. This is figure 4-1 on page 60. Right, we see all the various types of lines and symbols. Right, here's our column line symbol. Again, typically the column lines will be in both letters and numbers, not always, but that's typical. Right, so this column would be F.6, 0.8, right? It's a set of coordinates, just like latitude and longitude, right? Think of column lines as a set of coordinates. I just thought about that as a good analogy, right? So here's an extension line, here's dimension lines, a center line, right? Here's our dotted hidden line. So in the case of the hidden line, this is showing us the extent of the footing that exists below the plane of the drawing. So this hidden line is showing something that we won't be able to see once the building is built, but we're looking underground. Right, here's our section line and cutting symbol. So again, if we went to sheet S4 and looked for section number 1, we should see more detail, a cut through this particular feature looking downward, looking in this direction, right? Same thing here, right? If we go to sheet S3, we should see detail 5 showing us a cut that's looking in the direction that way.
Can I ask a quick question about, can you, the extension line, can you explain that one as shown here on this particular plan, like what that line means?
Yes, that's telling you what the dimension refers to. So you have to, again, it's a little hard to see on the screen here, but the extension line is be drawn back, and it's referring to this corner of the structure. So it would be too busy for us to put all these dimensions right here, right? It would be hard to read the detail that's here. So we're extending or moving those dimensions out here so we can see them more clearly, but we need this extension line to show us what the dimension is referring to, right? So in this case, this line is likely referring to that corner of the structure.
Okay, and the 1 foot 5 inches refers to that corner of the structure then.
Yeah, this 1 foot 5 appears to be the dimension between this corner of the structure and the center line of this row of footings, right? Because remember this, the style of that line differs from the style of the extension line differs from the center line just above it. So in this case, they're using this center line both as an extension line and to indicate the what in this case is the center line of this line of footings. So the 1 foot 5 would be the the difference between this corner of the wall and the center line of the footing. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Right, and here's another center line of these intermediate footings. So there's what, 13 foot 7 between this center line of this footing and the center line of this set of footings. And right, this one is, I'd have to see the whole thing to figure out why there's so much, all these different structural elements here. But again, in this case, they're using these center line, they're dimensioning off of the center lines. But again, the extension line is, or center lines is allowing us to move this set of dimensions away from the building itself so we can see both things more clearly. It would be really hard to read if we took this line of numbers and stuck them right here, right? We wouldn't be able to see anything. So we move them or we extend them outward so it's easier for us to read.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Right here is a example of a legend. So again, somewhere we'll see these symbols used on the drawing itself. Did I skip a page? Sorry. Oh, maybe not. So again, somewhere on the plan, we'll see these symbols and a legend exists to explain what those symbols mean. Again, somewhere on the plan, these symbols will be used and a legend exists to help you interpret what those symbols mean. So, right, that symbol may be used, and instead of every time there's an exhaust fan, instead of writing the word exhaust fan next to every individual case of exhaust fan, they show the symbol, and then you have to refer back to a legend and know that, oh, that means exhaust fan, right? That means can light. That means stairway light, right? We don't want to write all that text in there, so we're using symbols that have an abbreviation. Vaughn, there's not any hard and fast rule. My guess would be, since these things refer to things that I would likely find on the electrical prints, my guess would be that the first sheet of electrical drawings would have this legend on it, and then the subsequent electrical sheets would be where you would actually see that in plan. So there might be an E0.1 that might have some general electrical notes and the symbols, then E 1.1, E 1.2, etc., all the actual plans would show what that looks like. Yeah, module 6, yes. So again, there are the UDS, as we saw in the previous, in Unit 1, is the set of standards that explains all this stuff or shows how all this is laid out. Not every drawing is going to follow that, but hopefully you see the legends on the first sheet of the, in this case, the electrical drawings. Again, abbreviations, where are you going to find those? You might find those on the title sheet for the entire drawings, or you might find them on the individual sets of sheets. I would say in general, yes. There are standards. Again, the UDS, you know, the standards for doing drawings will have standard symbols, but not everybody is going to follow the rules, right? If somebody, not every electrical engineer is going to use that specific symbol for an exhaust fan. It would be nice if they did, but I would say hopefully every electrical engineer is going to put a legend on his drawing that lets you interpret his symbols. Does that make sense? Okay. What we're going to do here, I think I've gotten to the end of the line, is we're going to jump to, we've got a few minutes left in the class. Maybe we'll spend, I'll break you up and you guys can spend 10 minutes or 12 minutes doing activity 4-2, which I'll put up on the screen here. 4-2 is symbols, and those symbols refer to the reference section in the book, which starts on let me find it here. I guess I should look in the table of contents, right? Activity 4.2 refers to reference section 7, starting on page 341. So let me put that up on the screen. I'm going to break you up in groups. There's 20 of you, so I'll break you in 5 groups, and we'll see if that technology behaves.